passes unanimously. Okay, do we have any public input before we get started with our presentations? Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started with the bike and skate park community presentation.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Wood. I'm the Director of Parks and Recreation here for the City of Blue Lake, and I thank you all for coming today. Next slide. So we'll have an overview today of our presentation, and we wanted to start with a photo of where we're currently at, just about with the progress of the bike and skate park here. Next slide. And a little overview of what I'm going to talk about today is some of the project history, how this got started, the phases of the project, our liability with the park, our sponsors, and last, some links if anybody wants to do some further digging and research. And there also is copies of what I'm going to be talking about today, some of the ordinances and resolutions over on this table against the wall. All right, so to get started with some project history, going all the way back to 2019, the Planning Commission for the city approved the amendment for their municipal code to introduce the Opportunity Zone. This was via Resolution 3-2019. This was on April 15th as well. Fast forward to September of 2020, our previous city manager presented to the city council a Blue Lake Bike Park presentation, including a draft site plan and a layout. The city council directed at the time the manager to proceed with the project and to bring that back at a later date for more information. Moving to May 2021, the city council approved the Opportunity Zone, and that was via Ordinance 539. This included the property or the parcel where the bike park currently stands. And within the Opportunity Zone ordinance, it states that the Planning Commission is responsible for approving site projects moving forward. Going into November of 2021, the Planning Commission approved the site for the use of the bike park, and this was via Resolution 5-2021. The next day, our city planner, Gary Reese, filed a notice of action, and that stated the action that the Planning Commission took for the project to move forward. And in general, the public had 10 business days to submit a complaint. We did not receive any, so the project proceeded. Fast forward to May 2023, our previous city manager had brought to the council a funding application for a grant in which they proceeded for her to apply for further funding. Let me just do a little page flip here. So starting with the ordinance adopted by the Planning Commission, here's some of the recreation language used in the Opportunity Zone under page 5, Exhibit A of Resolution 3-2019. And that states under recreation and education, this use type allows for trails and outdoor recreational uses, including sports fields, sports complex, outdoor performance venues, etc., public and commercial recreational facilities, and schools and training programs in the areas of also arts, crafts, and light manufacturing. It can include RV/camping facilities, performance or art studios, theaters, or other venues for public assembly. This type of use can also include other recreation and education uses in which the opinion of the city planner are of the same general character and consistent with the purpose and intent of this section, and will not be obnoxious or detrimental to the district. And this is taken directly from that resolution. Moving into 2021, when the council then again saw the ozone come back to them via Ordinance 539, very minimal language was changed in this recreation and education section. And this would be page 5, section 5 of Ordinance 539. And the changes are seen here in blue, uh, in which they added the snippet not described above. And also at the end, they replaced district with ozone. And you can see here before this area was zoned as light industrial, I believe. Yep, light industry. And next slide. This moved to the opportunity zone after this took place. During the discussions of the opportunity zone and when it was brought to council before it was approved, there were several mentions of this bike park being brought into the whole idea, the whole picture. Here is one of them, and there's links on the side for those that want to look at this further. But as you can see where the red arrow is pointing, it was identified there as open space and bike park. Next slide. And further, here is another area identified via the bike pump track. And this was pre-ozone. So moving into the phases of the project, we start with phase one, which is roughly about $140,000. And on top of that, the donations that we've received via material or funds. The goal of finishing phase one is July 11th. We estimate about 3 days of total work to be done, about 8 hours a day with a crew. Some of the items to finish phase one would be the existing paved track, getting that base rock and the asphalt needed to complete the two-way return there. Using the temporary fencing panels along the roadway to keep the kids out of the road. Installing signage stating the assumption of risk, the rules and regulations, the park details, and all that jazz. And having a soft opening in which waivers would be required. Now, there are some immunities, which we'll talk about shortly, but one of them is the city council would move forward with adopting a helmet and protective gear ordinance. And that's through Health and Safety Code 115800, in which that offers cities some immunity when you adopt that ordinance and place proper signage. Our phase two of the project is roughly $240,000, and that goal is by October 2025 of this fall. And this timeline is also based on the funding and volunteer availability that we get. So please keep that in mind. And that would include grading, shaping, and paving the pump track, beginning the half pipe, paving the perimeter trail, the porta potty restrooms, and addressing any drainage concerns that we see. And the last phase is phase three, just under $100,000. We're hoping to keep it, and that would be by spring of next year. And that would be completing the half pipe, installing the security cameras, and figuring out the lighting there, putting permanent restrooms, having a water meter installed, creating the observation deck and the shade structures, having a water bottle refill station over there, finishing landscaping, finalizing installing the permanent fencing, and including a bike repair station for our riders. And here's the next steps. So if people wanted to take a picture of everything, this has all that information on one slide for you. I have made some contacts. I know there was concern about the availability of bikes for those that may be in need. And Arcata has a bike library that I've made some initial talks to try to see how we can bring that out to Blue Lake. And so next, what is our liability? And as I touched, we do have some immunities through, go back to the picture slide. Here you go. So next, returning to what's our liability here. And this is taken directly from our SEER representative. They're our risk management carriers through email to them. But they stated there are several immunities available to the city in regards to the operation of a bike and skate park. And in order to take advantage of these immunities, we will need to comply with the following requirements of, again, Health and Safety Code 115800. We could do this by adoption of our city council to have an ordinance requiring a person riding a skateboard or other wheeled recreational device at the facility to wear a helmet, elbow pads, and knee pads. And second, the posting of signs at the facility, a general rule of thumb is about every 50 feet, I'd like to say, um, but affording reasonable notice that a person riding a skateboard or other wheeled recreational device in the facility must wear a helmet, elbow pads, knee pads, and that a person failing to do so will be subject to a citation pursuant to the ordinance or resolution. Next, I wanted to talk about some of our sponsors that have contributed to our progress so far. Starting out with our copper sponsors, anywhere from $1 to $499. We have these on top. These could be through in-kind donations, raffle items that they've given us to help raise money and that type of thing. Our bronze sponsors, $500 to $999 in the middle, and our silver on the bottom, $1,000 to $24.99. Here are our next set of sponsors. These are our gold sponsors from $2,500 to $49.99. And lastly, our platinum sponsors, which is 5,000 or over that they've contributed through materials or funds to this project. I've included the links and we'll have this presentation on the city website for those that would like to review it and reread it. And lastly, I thank you all for your time today. And next, we will pass this to JT Wheeler, who has a part 2 of a presentation for everybody.
Thank you, Emily. Another round of applause for Emily. She has been absolutely great to work with, and I think she is such an asset to this community, big time. So my name is JT. I'm here working on behalf of the Redwood Coast Mountain Bike Association today. Our goal over the next 3 months is to raise as much funds as possible to make sure that there is, you know, this community does not have to come out of pocket to make this thing happen. And we've been in contact with a lot of our contacts around the community and just leveraging relationships that we have to make sure that people are willing to donate materials, time, and energy to this project to make sure that we can get this done and get this thing opened up. I do want to say that before we get started, the Redwood Coast Mountain Bike Association has made a $20,000 commitment to this project that we'll fund this week so that we can get this thing open for a soft opening by by July 11th of this year. So we are going to see this thing in motion. We are going to see kids riding this. We are going to see the benefit of having this bike park and all this 5 years of making this thing happen. It's all going to pay off. So I just want to make that clear. Um, next slide. So today, I want to thank you guys all for coming out here. Blue Lake is a very special place to me. One, because when I first moved up here, I moved up here from Southern California. I'm not from Southern California at all. I grew up in rural areas like this. I'm originally from Alaska. I lived in Montesano, Washington for 8 years of my life before moving to California. I thought I wanted to be in the city. Spent 6 years down there, realized, get me out of here now. Um, so when I came to Humboldt for a camping trip one time, I was like, man, I just want to live in this place. It is amazing. It's beautiful. So, um, but other than just it being beautiful, this place has really weathered a lot of economic changes over the last few decades, right? We had fishing, we had logging, we had cannabis, and all these things have came and went. And I look at these things as all industries that are requiring us to extract from the land and really I think that we should be utilizing the land around us to try to enjoy it and try to get young people involved with being kids again and just having a good time outside. And so, we're here to talk about this opportunity that's not 5 miles away, 10 miles away, 100 miles away. This is right here in our backyard. We could probably throw a rock at it from right here, right? And I really do think with all of my heart that this is going to make a big impact on this community. Next slide. So as beautiful as it is here and as nice as it is to live in a rural area, there are some challenges, right? Young people typically are deciding to leave this area because of a lack of opportunity. Um, and when young people leave, who's taking over these jobs? Who's serving as council members? Who's running the businesses? We need to have an economy here that can support young people staying here and having a viable lifestyle for them to be able to support themselves. Also, Main Street businesses struggle. I think we've all seen this over the last few years. Is like there's not as much commerce happening. How do we get more foot traffic here? Not the foot traffic that buys a house here and starts setting up shop. Like, no, come here, have a good time, go back to the bay. Let's keep this thing rolling. Um, Property values. I mean, we've all seen this over the last 3 years, especially. They've been a little bit stagnant, and our research shows that hey, your house can go up by 5-10% by being next to a nice trail system. Now we do have a nice trail system here with the Blue Lake Hatchery Ridge trails, but the problem is kids don't like pedaling uphill. So while the parents go into the trail system and pedal uphill, the kids can be at this bike park just going round after round after round, having a good time. Um, and the last thing is we've all experienced this, but healthcare, attracting people here to set up shop and be doctors and nurses and everything else is a challenge here. And places like Bend, Oregon have adopted, massive investments into outdoor recreation. And you'll hear from doctors. They say, we don't recruit our doctors, the trails do, and I really think that if we invest in outdoor recreation as a part of the next economic driver in this community, that we can start having our infrastructure attract these healthcare professionals that we're looking for. Next slide. So what we're doing today and what we've been doing for the last 5 years, this is not some experimental thing that we're just trying to figure out if it works. We're not throwing spaghetti at the wall. There's small rural areas like Oak Ridge, population 3,200. Before mountain biking, I think it was around 2,800, but they're seeing anywhere from $2.5 to $4.5 million a year in economic impact just from mountain biking. There's multiple businesses that have came there to set up, a mountain biking tour service. There's shuttle services, and they're essentially turning themselves into like a ski resort for bikes, and it's bringing a lot of money to a very small community. You have Fruita, Colorado, population 13,000, so it's a little bit bigger in here. But at the end of the day, they were an agricultural community that was very limited economically, and since they've implemented a world-class mountain biking trail system, they are now opening up more businesses. Young people are staying longer. People are coming there to set up shop. There's cafes, small businesses, all these things that make a community a community. So these aren't just accidents. These aren't, what ifs. We've seen this happen and we're trying to do this here. Next slide. So where we're at today, this thing is about 50% done. It just does not take a lot of work to get this thing across the finish line. It does take money, it does take volunteer hours, it does take effort, but right now we've had 100 plus man hours into site preparation, which included grading the property, preparing all the drainage. We've had 1,000 plus hours of excavation and shaping. That's, separating the topsoil, shaping the track layout, and doing the final compaction to get this thing ready for asphalt. And an asphalt was 1,900 plus hours, and that's including all the volunteer hours. I think we had 43 or 44 volunteers come out to do asphalt over the course of 3 days. What, 12-hour days, Dana? Some of them were longer. Some of them were 16-hour days of laying asphalt, but the community came together, and the Redwood Coast Mountain Bike Association has 850 members. We have a small army of people ready to come help to not only get this thing done, but lower the cost significantly to the taxpayers to make sure you guys don't actually have to pay anything at all. Let us come in here and help you guys get this thing done. Next slide. So now that this foundation is complete and we're looking over here at phase one, phase two, this is going to be the most, it's going to take a little bit of money to get this thing across. But this is the pre-donation price that we're looking at, and just in phase one alone, we were able to lower our cost by almost half. And we think that we can do a lot more once this thing has momentum, right? The more community buy-in we have, the more, local investments we have, the more small businesses are willing to come in and actually help chip in to make this thing a reality. Next slide. So this might be hard to read, but I can send a copy of this presentation here to anyone who wants to see it. You guys can just come talk to me after. I'll get a sheet ready for everyone to write down their email addresses, and I'll get everybody a copy of this after this presentation. But for everyone who wants to see where the money's been spent, what money is needing to be spent, this is some of it. And we have a lot more of a comprehensive breakdown. I just couldn't fit it all on one slide without it looking like Bible writing. So it's okay. Next slide, please. So when we talk about getting donations in, as you guys can see from phase one, it would have cost almost double what it cost to get this thing going. And that's because people came in and donated asphalt. People came in and donated time. People came in and donated soil and dirt and everything else that we needed to get this thing done. And it reduced the cost a lot. So I know when we're looking at these numbers, like, wow, that's a lot of money we need to raise. Are we sure we can do this? But it's half of what it looks like, and we have very good relationships in this community to actually bring this thing across the finish line. And we're going to be deploying some fundraising, online fundraising to get people involved. Even if we got to get this $1 at a time, we're going to get this thing done. But when you start to look at it like this, for every $1 that goes in, you're getting $2 worth of work out of it. We're multiplying your investment to make sure that this thing can actually get finished. And this is not just some rinky-dink good for Humboldt bike park. This is world class. I would say this is the biggest one on the West Coast. And not only is it the biggest, but it is the best designed one on the West Coast. People are going to be coming from all over to ride this thing, and it's going to bear fruit for years to come. Next slide. Yeah. You want to come up here and say it? Yeah, I'll explain that. Yeah, you can go back one slide. What Dana is saying is this black bar right here that you guys are seeing, that is the price if no in-kind donations came in, if no local businesses were giving us materials, labor, and all these things on the arm. This is the price that we've seen when these businesses actually chip in and get involved. And we've had enough conversations to know that people are willing to get involved. They just want to know that the community is ready for this. And I think, I think everyone wants to see this thing get done, right? So, next slide. In terms of a timeline, you know, there's small intricacies in between all of these line items, that are going to happen, but these are the big ones, right? Um, in July, by the 14th or by the 11th is what we're shooting for, but the 14th we have a youth race coming here. There's going to be 400. Oh, the 13th, sorry. And there's going to be roughly like 400 racers here, and probably 1,000 people in total kind of trying to come out here. No? Okay. Okay, sorry. The big race is September. Okay. Either way, guys, there's going to be a lot of kids here riding this thing. We're going to get some good feedback on this. My team is going to be out there making a video of all the kids riding it. We're going to use that video to leverage it to get people in the community that haven't seen this thing yet to get excited and start, donating to this thing. And that will happen by July of 25, or July 11th. In August, we're going to be looking at, grading and shaping the pump track around the existing bike park, finalizing the perimeter trail, and beginning half pipe construction. In October, we're going to pave the rest of the pump track, pave the perimeter trail, and have one more community ride day and fundraiser before the weather hits. And then after the weather is ready to cooperate in spring of 26, we're looking at building an observation area, permanent fencing, installing water fountains, tool stations, bike pumps, all the things we need to actually make this thing, you know, a place for people to hang out all day before having a grand opening. Yeah, for anyone that's not familiar with a pump track versus a bike park is going to have more features. They're designed for all skill levels, bigger features, smaller features. It's a place for people to be able to come and progress. A pump track is something for you to, you know, pump through. You're using your the strength of your body to pump through these whoops to get you around, and you know, it's a workout. You'll never have to pedal. Yeah.
Right here's the pump track where it's going. Right here in the half pipe, right by the road. And then there's an existing area right along the walking trail.
And the pump track will be for anybody.
There will be a better pump track and the inside. So that's why the drop in next to this wide one of that made we couldn't put that in because couldn't get in to put the asphalt in. To do the work we'd have to do with that to get in the tractors. So those are our favorite.
Now, one thing I want to mention is that all of these dates are contingent on us receiving funding. And we're not here today to talk to anyone about giving us money, but we would like support in helping spread the word of this thing, you know, a Facebook post, you know, sending a text to your friends and their friends and just getting the word out there that this is happening. I meet people every day that have no idea that this thing exists. And it's, you know, the more people that know about it, the more people are going to get excited. So, you know, while we feel very confident that we can perform by these dates, it is contingent on funding coming in. But that's, you know, that's something that I think we have under control. Next slide. So again, how to support, you know, there's multiple ways. You know, you guys could make a contribution if you want. Anything helps. But really, you know, spreading the word is a big thing. Getting it out to everyone you know, coming out for volunteer work days, learning how these things are built, learning how these things come together. Um, I think, you know, there's more ways than just putting money into a project to make an impact. So next slide. And when that money comes in, you know, we've seen on average $3.2 million annually generated by tourism and you know, just local communities from having a bike park in the rural area. Um, we've seen that 67% of outdoor recreation spending on trips stays within that local economy. We've seen that from every $1 million that's invested into outdoor recreation, that's creating anywhere from 15 to 25 new jobs that didn't exist before. And the average visitor is going to be spending around $78 a day. I mean, you know, if we get 1,000 of those people coming in the summer, that still makes an impact, you know? Um, and then property value, you know, 5 to 10% premium for properties near trail systems. I know everyone wants to see their property values go up. Rural markets are seeing larger percentage gains than urban areas because urban areas don't have space for this. And even if they did have space for this, I mean, you're going to go to one of those places, you're not going to be able to ride it because there's so many people there. You know, we have something beautiful here where you'll be able to go enjoy this all the time. Um, and then, you know, this investment also attracts other businesses coming into the area. You know, I would love to see Blue Lake having a little cafe and grabbing some coffee in the morning, going to the bike park, then going to the river after, you know, having little restaurants, you know, anything that could add additional commerce to this area, I think would be a really good thing. So next slide. And as far as transparency, I know a big thing for most people in this room was that there was a little bit of lack of transparency. And so we've been working with the city of Blue Lake to make sure that we have a plan for keeping everybody in the know of what's happening. This includes monthly updates where we're going to give you guys progress photos, financial reporting, documentation of volunteer hours, and any community engagement metrics that we can find, whether that's social media or whether that's someone just coming by and saying, wow, this is great. We are going to be making a project video that shows this thing being built, that shows this thing being completed, that shows kids riding it, and really gets people, knowing about what happened here. And then, regular community meetings like we're having today, RCMBA, myself, we're going to make sure we're at every single one of these until this thing's finished to make sure that you guys all know what's going on. You guys can talk to us directly, ask questions, and no one's left in the dark. Next slide. And that's it. If anyone has any questions, feel free to come chat. I would love to talk to you guys all. Thank you.
Are there any questions for JT or Emily? Okay, back to the agenda. Oh, I'm sorry, there are questions. Okay, here you go. Would you like the mic? Yeah.
I'm Marty Granger, and I'm really excited about this project. And I really like the way it began, kind of like if you build it, they will come. I mean, it was kind of vague and it grew from a smaller idea into a bigger one, and now it's just fantastic. But the whole opportunity area, um, that's where that's where the housing thing is. And I can't see that being there. It has to be a campground. I've already kind of been researching into this. I mean, it's probably not a probability, but maybe it's a possibility to have a campground there, maybe 20 or 30 sites, and it would take up the eastern half of the opportunity zone. And then, kind of in the middle, would be the communal um, barbecue places, picnic tables, a little playground for the littler kids so that families can come and stay at the campground. Everybody has something to do. And then a little store, like it was mentioned, food for campers, bicycle equipment. I mean, it could really be just a wonderful place. And even RVs could line up on the street because there's no place for them yet, but maybe in the future when um, the biomass area is developed, they could be an RV park and miniature golf, and that whole area would just be recreation. That's what I'm visualizing.
Anybody else?
Back her up. Just to add on to what she's saying, I think that living in a rural area, we all want to see this place stay rural, right? We don't want to see massive developments, housing moving in, this place growing like crazy from a population standpoint. And I think the more land that we set aside for outdoor recreation, the less opportunity there is for people to come over here and start building houses and apartment complexes and everything else that makes this place grow. Again, I want to be able to go to the river without having to walk 5 miles down the road and get there and there's 1,000 people there. Like we live in a rural area for a reason, right? So I just wanted to back you up and just say like I like what you're saying.
Yeah, I want to thank everyone for coming and this was a good presentation. And when we talk about donations, I do want to mention that the Redwood Coast Mountain Biking Association has been running our beer booth at Annie and Mary Day for the last 2 years, and we'll be doing it again this year on August 3rd. So that's another small way that we are helping you guys out with your project.
All right. Thank you. Does anybody else have a comment or question for JT? Okay. Yes.
Oh, no park a field next to it.
Gotta yell it.
They always, oh.
So, yeah. You can move those.
What she was asking is when massive amounts of people, like so let's say 500, 1,000 people come here, where will they park? Um, typically they've been parking in the existing field that's next to where the bike park is. And even last year, after some of this was done at the Enduro, we had people parking in there still.
Yeah, no, it's like, it pretty much is a campground during the races.
Yep. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, how many people were at that last event?
How many racers, Tim, in total for Mad River? 320? 220 riders. Yeah, and they all come with friends and family, people wanting to watch people race, so forth. Yeah.
All right. So next on the agenda is announcements. Do we have any announcements? Emily? July 12th, Pints for Nonprofit at Mad River Brewery. Thanks. Okay, future agenda items. Now our next meeting is July 2nd, and we typically meet over at Skinner Store, 6:30. And then lastly on the agenda is a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting has been adjourned.